Hello, everyone. Welcome to the next episode of HP Labs podcast from Research to Reality. Today, we celebrate the World IP Day. I have a great honor and pleasure to have 6 people here with me who are award winners and the lady who has been running the whole process. So let's start with the room. Hello, Puneet.
Hey, Dejan.
Let's go remotely from India. We have Suparna. Would you please introduce yourself?
Hello. Thank you, Dejan.
We have Miranda out of Houston. Is that right, Miranda?
Out of Frisco, actually.
Out of Frisco, okay. We have Shaun in California. Are you in California, Shaun? Where are you located?
My office is Minneapolis, but I'm in Indonesia.
Oh, okay. Good. Nice. And then we have Luis.
Yeah, hello. I am in Costa Rica.
And Sergio.
Hi, everyone. I'm also located in San Jose, Costa Rica.
Thank you all for joining us. This is a great opportunity to talk about IP, patents, disclosures, and many other forms. Would you mind introducing just a little bit more about yourself, starting from Suparna?
Yeah, hi, I'm Suparna Bhattacharya. I am a fellow in the AI Research Lab in HP, and I'm based in Bangalore.
Puneet?
I'm also an HPE fellow, and I also have the pleasure to lead the Networking and Distributed Systems Lab in HPE Labs.
Thank you. Shaun, would you like to say a few words about what you do and et cetera about you?
Shaun Township. I'm a software engineer, storage R&D, Bloomington, Minnesota. I'm a Linux software developer, been a Linux software developer for many years, and I work for HP on the Lustre file system.
Thank you. Luis, you want to say a few words?
Yeah, sure. I am part of the ASIC SDK team located in Costa Rica, and I have been working on HPE since the last 10 years. I have a background in electronics and also in computer science.
Thank you. Sergio?
Sure. I'm Sergio Guillem. I'm located in San Jose, Costa Rica. I'm part of the Network Product and Advanced Technology Organization. It was formerly HP Aruba. I am principal engineer here and work as well in the SDK ASICs.
Thank you, Sergio. And the last but definitely not least, Miranda.
Hi, I'm Miranda Liu. I am the Director and Associate General Counsel of our Patents and Trade Secrets team here in HPE's IP legal team. So I lead our worldwide team of patent attorneys and patent agents. We manage the entire patent lifecycle for all of HPE's patents. So everything from disclosure review to maintenance fees after we obtain patents. That's what my team does.
Thank you. We engineers don't even know how much work is before and after the patents are filed. So thank you for doing all of that thankless job that makes us all successful. I will just jump around to optimize a little bit who speaks. So Luis, can you tell us a few words how you got engaged with filing IP, why are you doing it, etc.?
Well, in our case, sometimes we get customer issues on our site because the problem is too complex and we need to find a solution using the ASIC. And in this case, we had several customers with compatibility issues, so I got engaged to come up with a solution.
Nice. And Sergio, what about you?
Similar case, Luis already mentioned it. We have sometimes customer issues, or sometimes we are just working in a solution for a new product, for a new technology, in which we need to go and be creative. Sometimes use the technology in a non-standard but required way to have really clever or really customized or proper solution for the different situation that we found.
And Miranda, how did you get engaged with IP?
So when I was in college, I had an engineering major, and my senior year, I decided that I really liked working with engineers, but I didn't want to be an engineer. So I wanted to be able to use my technical background in my job. And so I was talking to some alumni from my college, and they talked about patent law to me, and I thought it was a really great path. And so that's what I've been doing ever since.
Very interesting. These stories are always nice to hear. Shaun, how did you start engaging with IP?
I'm actually not so much IP, but open source developer. And I've got an open source community achievement surrounded about bringing Lustre into the Linux kernel. So I'm working on features, the page to folio conversion, and other blockers that keeping us from getting Lustre in the mainline Linux kernel.
And how did you start all of that? I mean, this is what you do now. Have you been open sourcing for a while, or?
I've been a Linux developer and advocate on and off for the last 35 years.
Nice. Mr. Sharma, how did you start filing patents?
Filing patents, actually, even though it all started at when I joined HPE as a starry-eyed, fresh PhD student 27 years ago, again, one day after you. So that's where I started. But if you sort of look back, the journey started much earlier in my childhood. I was very much inspired by my dad and my mom. My mom, who actually did not have much of formal education, it was just looking at how creative she was in trying to actually manage 3 boys that she had. And my dad, who actually was part of the Green Revolution in India, he was an agricultural researcher. So again, to me, scarcity actually in a lot of ways brings about the innovation and invention that is necessary. And here at HPE Labs, it has been part of my job profile. And as you know, remember earlier we used to have logo which had invent in it.
That's right.
So that's where it all started formally, because all those things that I used to do as a kid in school, now filing IP is like just documenting it properly, your lab notebooks and filing disclosures, as Miranda was saying, and then moving on.
So 27 years later and 100 patents later, here we are. Mrs. Bhattacharya, how did you start?
Yeah. So, first off, I wanted to say to Shaun, I was also a Linux kernel contributor, so it's amazing to hear about your accomplishment, in terms of open source. So patenting. So for me, actually, it was a late start. I had been working for 7 years, and it's not that I hadn't been inventing, but I just didn't know how to recognize a patent. So I was having a collaboration. We were collaborating with, this was back in my previous company when I was working in IBM Almaden. I was working with a distinguished engineer there. And I had solved, I'd come up with a solution for a problem for, filter file systems in a distributed environment where we were trying to intercept the file systems to be able to link it with a database. And we were finding that caching in the file systems was really, the client-side caching was inhibiting our ability to actually intercept this effectively. And I came up with a solution. And then that was when, in the Palnarang, he told me, I see a patent here. And that, I think, is what triggered me to really think through the whole solution. It triggered, encouraged me to develop the whole solution. And I think from that point on, I really loved doing patenting, because it would push me to actually go beyond, the original idea and really work it all the way through. And after that, I think that inspiration was there from several people. And I always tell people that, I kind of wish that I hadn't lost those 7 years in the beginning of the career. There's a lot of things which I did, which possibly could have been patented, but I missed the opportunity. But of course, the real joy was in creating those IP and creating those patents.
Not sure if it will make you any better, but I probably missed about 15 years. Not 7. So you're still way ahead of me. And compared to you and Shaun, I never contributed a line to Linux. I lived before that era. I was contributing Unix System 5, Mach microkernel, and other operating systems. Okay, but one of the primary reasons why this select group of people join here is because you all received awards. And so could you please introduce your award and tell us a little bit about it? And this time we'll start with Suparna.
So this one, the award that I got this year was for a patent which was, and it came as a surprise to me, it was a patent filed last year which was voted by the peers as the top voted patent. So the title of the patent is Artificial Intelligence Optimization Platform. This work was actually in collaboration, and I had just moved, from HP storage. I used to be in storage before I moved to labs about 5 years or 6 years back. And so this work was really in collaboration with my colleagues in storage, Kalapriya Kannan and Chaitra Kalyanpur. Both of them are not with HPE now. But it was really, at that time, I was very interested in, we were actually looking at how you could make storage systems more suitable for AI. And we've been doing a bunch of work in that area, for example, looking at similar data and realizing that similar data, if they undergo computation, then their outcomes might be similar. So we've been doing work in that regard. And this was also kind of the time when, InfoSight for AI ops, for storage, there was a platform that was being built on SimpliVity, InfoSight on SimpliVity. And so we were seeing this, issue there where there were lots and lots of metrics for which people were creating models. And so you had every metric, right? So across the install base, any number of devices, for each device, there would be multiple of these metrics. And for each of them, models were being created. And every time the pattern would change, then you have to go back and retrain the model. So our invention was really about seeing that do we really need to keep retraining these models every time? Or is there somewhere there's a model that has already seen that kind of a pattern and is suitable for, forecasting for that kind of pattern? And so we decided that we would explore if this idea of similarity of the distributions of the data could be used to reduce the training cost and at an overall platform level, right? Because across all of these systems, all of these metrics that were there. And, it seems trivial, look for the commonality between two distributions and then pick the model. But the question was also, even if two, data sets look similar, it depends on the model, right? Because some models are sensitive to a small change, while some models can tolerate a much larger change. So what is the similarity threshold? So that's what the IP was about. This was also, interesting thing was this was also a TechCon formal presentation. So it's actually wonderful to be, to see this patent, being recognized after all these years. I really wish I could share this news with my co-inventors, Kala and Chaitra.
Congratulations, Suparna, for both achievements. The second award was received by Puneet Sharma, Dr. Puneet Sharma, for the most patent applications filed. Can you please describe each one of these that you filed last year?
I think we'll have to increase the podcast to probably 5 hours to be able to describe all of them. But I think I do want to take the opportunity. Yes, I did actually sort of get the award for being the most prolific inventor in 2025. But some of this is the two sort of primary reasons for this, or things that this is testament to. First and foremost, for HP Labs being the innovation engine of the company, right? Lot of focus has been on two primary directions within the company. If you look at technology, AI for networking, and networking for AI. And I'm actually very proud of the team because we have been inventing in this space, creating the IP portfolio in this space, helping our business unit colleagues differentiate in this space. So we definitely are on very strong footing as far as the IP in these two spaces is concerned. Second, I do want to also bring up the fact that the nature of innovation, and increasingly for me, innovation has been at the cross domains, right? Not just networking or not just AI, but where these different domains meet. Suparna was earlier talking about using AI for storage, right? So all these things matter. And what makes me wake up every day is the fact that I will be going into labs, meeting all my colleagues, and the sort of corridor conversations that we have, which lead to these fantastic innovations. That's what motivates me, and that's why not just you, for last 27 years in the company have been exciting because of these innovations and interactions with colleagues and innovating together.
Thank you, and congratulations for your award, most deserved. Luis and Sergio, you two together with Jonathan received what kind of award? Can you tell us each a little bit about the award and a little bit of what did you do to deserve that award?
As you said, we received the award. I worked with Sergio and Jonathan last year, and we filed an invention disclosure for at the end it came as a trade secret, so we won the trade secret of the year. Basically, there was a compatibility issue with some customers and our switches, so we were able to come up with a solution using a software-based solution, and you'll see using also another ASIC modules. The ASIC is like the central hardware part of our switches that is in charge of processing the packets. And we were able to solve this compatibility issue and help a lot of different customers that were having that problem.
Thank you and congratulations for the award. Sergio?
Just to add a little bit more what Eduardo just told us, the big differentiator or what really makes it's an innovation is that we had to took some functionality that was supposed to fulfill one purpose, and we figure out a way to configure it, to use it, to provide this, or indeed to fix that compatibility issue to the customer. So it is this kind of thinking out of the box, making sure that we use anything that we have at hand and provide a really innovative solution.
Thank you and congratulations. People frequently forget the importance of trade secrets, and they are different. Patents, they are publicly disclosed, trade secrets are not. So some of the most important IP that is generated is usually protected using trade secrets. And then we have the last award that is discussed here. Shaun, would you like to explain to us that award, what differentiates it from others, and what did you do to achieve it?
It's an open source community achievement award for bringing the Lustre file system into the Linux kernel and leading the transition from page-based file system to a folio-based file system. It's one of our blockers for getting into the Linux kernel acceptance. I do a lot of work with Lustre, the upstream community, and just getting up-to-date kernel support. So usually within a few days of Linus's new kernel, I have everything ready to go for Lustre for the current kernel. So we keep everything working nicely for our customers. As distros pick up packages, we don't have to struggle and rush because we've already got support in place.
Thank you for doing all of that, and congratulations for your award. Now that we heard about all these awards, we'd like to hear from Miranda about the awards in general. How does it look from your perspective?
Thank you, Dejan. So these awards were all selected and awarded in slightly different ways. For the Patent of the Year, we had over 550 patents issued to HPE and Juniper last year. And so we put them all on a voting platform, and we invited our engineering and R&D community to look through them and vote. So yeah, Suparna's patent received the most votes, and so that's why she was awarded the Patent of the Year. For the most prolific inventor of the year, we simply looked at the data in our IP database and looked to see who had the most patent applications filed in 2025. And so that was Puneet, head and shoulders above everyone else. So congratulations again, Puneet. And then for the trade secret of the year, we identified many trade secrets in 2025, but we asked the managers of the inventors for input on whether the invention had been implemented or how it was helping customers and just any other feedback they had about it. So we took a lot of manager feedback, and we also had a panel of IP experts within our IP legal team look at all the different entries and we voted. So it was a small committee vote. Because it's a trade secret, just by definition, the knowledge of it, of how it works, needs to be limited to a smaller pool of people. And that's why we couldn't open the voting up to the entire engineering and R&D community like we could with the Patent of the Year. For the Open Source Community Achievement Award, we have an open program office here at HPE, and there is a steering committee that helps to determine the general open source strategy of our company. And so they took nominations. So Shaun was peer nominated, just like all the other finalists, and then the steering committee voted on who the winner was, and they chose Shaun. So really happy to have such great innovators here at HPE, and all of these awards are very well deserved. So thank you everyone for your contributions.
And Miranda, thank you and your team for instituting these awards. And would you like to say a few words on the occasion that these awards are given? Because it's not just like any other day.
Sure. So we give these IP awards in conjunction with World IP Day every year. So World IP Day is on April 26th, and it's a celebration of the innovation and creativity that that steers us forward, that advances the way that we live and work. So every year we send out a company-wide email, just wishing everyone a happy World IP Day, and we like to recognize as many innovations and innovators as we can, just because the work that they do day in and day out is so important. And some people don't even know that we have an IP team, and some people don't even know about all the really great inventions and contributions, technological contributions. So we just really want to take this opportunity to highlight that and to highlight some of the superstars in our community.
Thank you again, Miranda, both to you and the team. There's a number of tireless people, especially those who work with committees who filter out all these and help day in, day out maintain our IP. Speaking of the importance of IP, I'm sure you think it's important, Puneet, otherwise you won't be filing these many. Can you explain your angle on why is IP important, both to you personally and to the companies?
Yes, I think the first and foremost, there are challenging problems as we are moving technologically forward. Doesn't matter what the domain and things are. we need to be able to solve those challenging problems. That's where the inventions come from. For HPE innovation, the patents are important because that's what helps us protect the differentiation we are bringing in our products and compete in the market. Miranda can actually sort of talk a lot more about why filing IP is important. For me personally, it is about solving the problem. Remember, I was talking about the sort of growing up in India, and there is this term called jugaad, which basically is about jerry rigging things and trying to put them together. And necessity is mother of all inventions. And here in HPE, it is about differentiating with our competition, trying to solve challenging problems, and staying motivated and excited. I mean, for me, this whole notion of filing IP starts from solving a nice, challenging problem. Otherwise, life gets too boring. And that's what has kept me in labs working on these challenges and making it happen. So
I always learn another Indian word whenever you come to the podcast. Miranda, I think Puneet called for you to explain. Would you mind explaining the importance of filing IP for HPE?
Yeah, there's a lot of really great reasons for having a robust IP portfolio for a company of our size. I think the reason that everyone thinks of is, you can assert your patents, right? You can get licensing revenue. So this is something that we do. When we see other people infringing our patents, we can build a case against them and reach out to them and let them know, hey, we have a patent or multiple patents. We see what you're doing. Would you like to take a license? Right. So it is a way to protect our innovation and to generate revenue. I think the larger value that a lot of people don't realize is in kind of in the deterrent value. So when you have a really large portfolio, there might be some people out there, other operating companies who are tempted to sue us because they might think that we are infringing on their patents. But then when they see the size of our portfolio, they think twice, right? Because, chances are we probably have something that they infringe as well. And IP infringement lawsuits are very lengthy and very expensive. I think really at the end, the only people who end up winning are the lawyers. So it's a deterrent to prevent lawsuits. And that's kind of a harder value to quantify because how do you quantify something that doesn't exist, right? But I think the main reason why we maintain such a large portfolio is to deter other parties from suing us. Other than that, I think it's a great way to motivate inventors at our company. We have a very robust financial incentive program for patents and trade secrets and contributions to open source. And so it looks great on people's resumes. When you have a lot of people involved, it encourages more people to get involved. And I think for people who are on the technical career path, I think having patents might actually be if not a requirement, at least a criteria that's considered when they're trying to advance up that ladder. And so yeah, IP is really important from a personnel and from a legal perspective. And I'm just really happy that we have so many people at HPE, like my fellow guests on this podcast, who are willing to engage in the process.
Thank you, Miranda. Now I see why you decided to be a lawyer and not an engineer.
So if I may add to what Miranda was saying, I think for a lot of us at HPE, especially the technical community, this is the way to differentiate our products in the market, right? These innovations are what are feeding the greatness and the competitiveness of our products. So I think is very important.
Thank you. Thanks for explaining that, Puneet. And Shaun, how does it work with open source? It's completely different model. Can you explain it to us? Why do you open source?
Well, we open source and we work with Lustre and other open source projects for slightly different reasons. In part, our due diligence in working with the upstream community protects our own property of work with Lustre, and it also prevents bugs that we've already found, fixed, solved, and shared solutions for from coming back again each cycle as new releases are done. So we do it to reduce our workload, our engineering debt, and we do it to help the community, and that also helps us. Oh, you want whose version of Lustre do you want? Oh, you want HPEs because they're the guys that are doing the biggest scale, right? So that it's a symbiotic relationship.
So compared to patents, which are more about protection, here it's more about sharing the workload and the results.
Yeah, we get in us. Yeah, I won't go too deep into things I don't understand, but yes, by sharing, we get the benefits of the product, and we improve the product, and we have expertise in the product. So if you're going to find somebody who you want to write a support contract with, you want somebody who knows what they're doing, and we have proof that we know what we're doing, and we've shared that proof with the world.
Thank you, Shaun. And then defensive secrets are even yet another form. Can you explain to us, Luis and Sergio? Can you speak a little bit about what these secrets are?
Yeah, these secrets are a way to protect or recognize the work that we do, the effort that we do on a solution. And because sometimes you get involved in a pretty creative and challenging situation, but at the end you get overwhelmed with your daily work and you don't think that might be something for intellectual property, but it has a really good potential of being a created solution, and protecting that as a trade secret is pretty important to recognize that effort and the innovation that is underneath for me. Yeah.
Thank you. Sergio, do you want to add anything more about trade secrets?
As Eduardo already mentioned, what is really important with that is to have a mechanism or this way to well document and protect this great idea that we have to provide a solution, a fix, etc. Make sure that at least at the HPE level, some people get aware of the work that we are doing.
Just to add to that, trade secrets don't a lot of times don't get the recognition, that patents do, because they're not public, right? Just by nature, they're secret. But here at HPE, we really do want to recognize and reward the work that our inventors do in areas that may not be so suitable for patenting, right? One of the things that makes a patent valuable is the detectability. Right? That means how easy it is to tell that somebody else is doing it. And so if you have something that's, really embedded, deep down in the stack, or just something that people may not necessarily tout in their marketing materials, it's really hard to tell if someone's doing it. And so since we have limited budget for filing patents, we may choose to not file patents on those things. But that doesn't mean that those things aren't important, right? Doesn't mean that those inventions can help save money or make our products more competitive in the market. And so our our incentive program, our innovation incentive program, actually rewards trade secret inventors equally with patent inventors, and it's the same process. It's the same process of submitting a disclosure and having a patent committee look at it, because we don't want people to feel like just because the nature of what they're working on, that somehow their work is less valuable or less seen than the people who do get patents filed.
Thank you for explaining that, Miranda. And the last person I left on purpose as the last was for Suparna. Suparna, how do you file the best patent or the best disclosure?
I don't know. I mean, I think every disclosure is special. I mean, every patent has a story behind it. Maybe before I talk to that question, I wanted to just add something on the value of filing IP. One of the things that we do, and this was an example here in this particular patent also, is that besides, I mean, there's a lot of ideas that have come even for us, I think, which from talking to customers or talking to colleagues and seeing the problems that are actually happening in the real world and trying to come up with solutions for that. But sometimes we also try to look ahead in the future and think about what could be a problem that could arise later on. And in this particular case, we were really looking at the problem of AI training and the problem of training many models. And how do you reduce that? Because training is expensive and, it's costly in terms of resources, energy consumption, and, what happens when AI is being applied at scale. And so this was one of those patents, right, where I think in the short term, there was probably not much, the scale was not that much. Yes, we saw a substantial improvement that's possible. We could see that you could reduce the training cost, and there was a lot of similarity across the different metrics at different stages. And so we could reduce that. But that, I think, is one of the different, angles, which I think is also valuable. And when we do this in research, also that we, back to, what we were discussing with Shaun, is my experience, even working on open source, we do, I found that it was actually, it's valuable to patent ideas, because then you can safely open source and know that the work that we have done is AI. We decide to contribute those patents back to the community, but at least there is a clear, clear marker that says that this is ideas were originated by us, and it's not something that, we borrowed from elsewhere. And in the case of research, what we do is we typically file the patents, or we, and before the paper is published. So we do actually make those work, open, but we also protect it with IP, so that gives us, as HP as a company, the leverage, whether it is in terms of, utilizing it in products, or, as Miranda pointed out, giving us IP portfolio and licensing. But in this particular patent, I think, one of them was that looking forward. I think the other is back to what Puneet said. It's really this intersection between areas. I think it was really the collaboration that really, I think those are at least my most favorite patents, is when we collaborated across different areas and come up with an idea which is at the intersection.
Thank you. And then the last question is something about you personally. Our audience likes to know more about you. I can tell you one example of my personal, even though it's related to patent. The first one that I got granted was motivated by the fact that one morning I came to office, I remember still at Building 3 upper, and I'm talking to my phone, and I look at my laptop, and laptop is gone. There's a Kensington lock that was cut. And so I got so annoyed that I went on to file the virtual lock disclosure, which was the first patent granted. Puneet, do you have any interesting story about you? It could be anything else, doesn't have to be about IP.
So I will actually talk about, because we are talking about processes and things and what motivates. For most of my patent filing, I follow this principle called KISS. Keep it simple, Sharma, or actually keep innovation simple, stupid. That's what the original one is. But in terms of, because we were also referring to what are interesting patents and things. For me, patents which build the basis for a lot more innovation to happen. They are the most fascinating of the patents. Take example of what was happening at HP and HP Labs in 1960s, before the labs was even founded, was the commercialization of commercial applications of LEDs, right? Everything from your calculator. And now if you just look around everywhere, right, from displays to LEDs have just taken over, right? So to me, the inventions which lead to more invention and creativity, those are the most fantastic ones. My favorite ones, because I do actually have some favorites, were one which we did again at Intersection, where we were working with a printing business unit. It was cloud and printing patent called connection parking for being able to do e-print. And the last one was very recently we did a patent on resilience for AI training method called FSDP, RFSDP. These are sort of some of the simplest, because I was talking about KISS, right? These are some of the simplest and the cleanest innovations we have done. And more elegant it is and simple it is. People don't like us to publish papers, like what's there to publish kind of things. But that's what, to me, those are some of the best patents. If you can solve, why do you have to make things complex, right? If you can solve it simply in an elegant manner, that's the best.
Thank you, Puneet. Luis and Sergio, what about you?
In my case, well, something personal for me is I like creating things, thinking outside the box, and putting others first, like our customers. Like, imagine if you are a customer and you would like to get your things solved. That also applies in my home, because I like doing DIY projects. So yeah, that's something personal for me.
Thank you. Sergio?
Something really interesting, I guess, about me is I'm an air donor, which means that I let my hair grow for 2-3 years. After that, I trim it and I donate to a foundation that make wigs for women that are undergoing cancer treatment.
Nice. Thank you. Suparna?
One of the things which, maybe aside of the patents, because they were saying every patent has a story. I have been, if I had not been a computer scientist, I probably would have been a physicist. And I still love physics as an area. There were several times when I have thought of going back and doing a, PhD in physics. I loved quantum computing. I used to name all my computers with terms like qubit and all of that. And I think that somehow what really intrigued me about this area of quantum computing is, in fact, that it was bringing three areas together: information theory, because I had my bachelor's was in electronics and electrical communication engineering. So, and then there is computer science, and then there is physics. And I think that somehow those ideas of superposition and entanglement and, those ideas tend to influence a lot of my thinking and my expression.
Thank you. Shaun, how about you?
Aside from software, I spend quite a bit of time traveling, hiking in the mountains and visiting national parks.
Nice. Miranda, last but definitely not least.
So the theme of this year's World IP Day is IP in sports. So in keeping with that theme, I'll share something sports related. So I love watching and playing basketball, and it's something that I've done basically my entire life since elementary school. And when I was in law school, I actually was on an intramural basketball team with some of my fellow law school classmates. And we actually won the league championship for our intramural league 2 out of the 3 years that I was there.
Nice. We should talk about the history in labs. Fred Kitson was sponsoring. I was on that team. Thank you very much. I learned tons of things about IP, and I'm sure our audience will as well. Physical handshake with Puneet, virtual goodbye to everyone remotely.
Thank you.